What is happening, boys and any girls that potentially may listen to us? It is your favorite show, Trades and Grades, back at you again for another episode. But they're only, they let the prisoners decide to handle this. Noah is gone today, so it is only me and my other fearless captain, Camden. Camden, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'd just like to say, if there are any girls watching, we all know it's because of me, because these other two dudes, Caleb has a wife and Noah has a fiance, so it's definitely because of me. So
Oh, for sure. And you give the best advice. So listen, ladies, you see his name. He is on Twitter. So if you want to slide in those DMs, feel free to jump in. He really likes Traylon Burks. So just say Traylon Burks and instant. It's an instant date. Anyway, we're going to jump into talking a little bit about landing spots and kind of how we're seeing some of the tiers that we may have talked about pre-draft turning out into actual drafts. So we got two different drafts we're going to kind of dissect. The first one's a 1 QB league, and then the second one's going to be a super flex league. So kind of looking at this draft, Camden, this is one that me and you were in. How did you? I think you drafted really well.
it's probably one of my best drafts I've had. I've had a lot of good drafts. I've both the two main leagues I'm in. I've been very happy with both of them. I have Traylon Burks in both of them, and I didn't pick him before the one. I picked him at 1-5 and 1, and this one 1-7. So I mean, Traylon Burks was a massive steal for me in both drafts, and then I also got Jameson Williams at 110, which I saw something showing the odds of guys being at the picks I got him at in this draft specifically. Traylon Burks going at 7, like I think it was a 19% chance or 10%, somewhere between 10 and 19%. And Jameson Williams being there at 110 was, I'm pretty sure, under 10% too. So to get both of those guys, I don't know if it was just utter ignorance on my fellow league mates or if things just played out well for me.
Yeah, I think looking at this one, we're going to kind of walk through this draft, but I think the main thing with this league that we're in, there's a lot of people that maybe don't take Dynasty as seriously. So this is going to be your typical league where you're not playing with experts or maybe the people that follow everybody on Twitter and are seeing all the hot takes. So even just walking through, I mean, everyone knows Brees Hall, even if you're not following Dynasty for that long, is the 101 in this year's draft. Garrett Wilson went 1-2. I don't really have a problem with that. I think we've talked, like, usually you're going to see Drake London or Garrett Wilson off the board, usually Kenneth Walker, but Kenneth Walker falls to the 1-3, then Drake London at 1-4, and then this is where things get real interesting with the 1-5 being James Cook. This is a typical reach, Camden. This is what
Big
people
time
do when
reach.
they need a running back. They think, hey, second round draft capital lands in Buffalo. I'm going to take him, even though the value on the board screams wide receiver.
I just don't know how you can't go Traylon Burks here personally. Like, to me, there's a tier break after 1-5. I think your top 5 guys: Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Walker, London, Burks. To me, tier break. Some people could argue you could throw Olave. Is that pronounce his name? I still probably haven't learned that, but some people argue you could throw him in there as well. I I kind of lean against that. I think personally, after that, there's 3 more guys in another tier break, and after that, I see Olave, Sky Moore, and Jameson Williams for me, and then another tier break. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
totally agree with
running
you.
backs, big reach here.
Big reach, yeah, and then of course the Chris Olave, you get goes ahead of Traylon Burks. That's probably not even in your rookie drafts. That's not going to happen.
Funny story with that one. I was attempting to trade up to make sure I could get Traylon Burks at 1-6. I was like, man, I'll just swap him picks. He probably won't care anyway, and like give up something and get the 1-6, and he just ghosted me and then picked Olave, and I was like, cool, thanks, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of, and especially this league we're in, I know a lot of us are OSU homers, so I
Oh,
think that
absolutely,
sometimes
not me
that
though.
some no, not you, but
I know.
sometimes
I'm
that may
just
be.
letting the fans know, like, well, he might be unreasonable. I am reasonable.
Listen, man, I don't care. I take the best prospect on the board because at the end of the day, I'm here to win dynasty championships, and I
Yep.
don't care. Once you're off the Ohio State football team, I could care less. So
Tough
we're
love.
tough
I might
love.
have to splice that one up and like tweet, oh, at Ohio State football.
Oh gosh, I don't do it. I need some free season tickets eventually. But yeah, then Sky Moore falls to the 1-8, 1-9. Christian Watson, of course, you get Jameson Williams at 110. That should not happen at all. I don't even
Deal.
care. Don't even care if his ACL, both ACLs are torn. He's not coming back until the last week
I'd let him
17.
sit out a whole year for
Yeah,
110.
no kidding. At 110, there's no way his value does not improve for 110. Even if he flops this year, you can still flip him for one. Well, maybe not next year, but maybe in, I don't know. You could
going
get
forward. Yeah,
relative value. Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, David Bell. I can think that's kind of my next tier that I would have wide
after
receiver wise.
Pickens,
I know
after
you don't.
Pickens,
Yeah, after Pickens.
I agree. That's my next tier break for me as well.
And then of course you kind of have the second round that, to be honest, once you
Yeah,
get from 2-1 to 2-6 in a, I mean, it doesn't even matter because Superflex not one QB is about the same. Going David Bell, Pierce, Spiller.
yeah. I actually had that 2-1 pick, and I went David Bell, and I really struggled with what to do there. I really like Pierce. I think Pierce could carve out a nice role in Indy. I like Wandale Robinson just because he's explosive, and seeing as I'd already picked Burks and Williams, I kind of had a little bit of a free pick, if you would call it, almost. I ended up going David Bell, though, just because I think he carves out a wide receiver 2 role. I think he plays the slot a lot and puts up really solid numbers. So that's why I ended up going him. I feel like he was maybe the safest out of all those for me.
Yeah, I mean, when you get Deshaun Watson, you know they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more than they have here in the recent years in Cleveland. But if you're even talking like just dynasty strategy, if somehow you have the 2-1 and you get to this point where there's not a like George Pickens somehow didn't fall or a Jahan Dotson didn't fall, I mean, I'm honestly looking to trade back because
Yeah,
I don't see a difference between David Bell and like Mechie. Honestly, like I mean,
yeah,
maybe a
yeah. I
little bit
don't.
of flavor, but if you could get like an extra third, or I mean, even like a future second thrown in to like move
Yeah,
back 6 or 7 spots, I think it's take that value.
I don't disagree. In this league, not a lot of chirping going on in the chat. Wanting to move up to 2-1. So
No, I would agree with you. This league does not like to trade unless you're trading Michael Thomas in a first for Jamar Chase.
yeah,
Um,
worst trade I've ever seen.
Anyway, moving on. So of course you got Rashard White, Brian Robinson, Trey McBride going. This isn't a tight end premium, so tight end. I mean, not an elite tight end, but still nice to
Yeah,
potentially have.
another note behind that McBride pick by me because I was the one who picked him. I have Zach Ertz, so it was kind of a handcuff in some sense. And at 2-7, I don't know. It was okay for me. I felt like.
Yeah, I got Pierce. I think I did. I trade up for that. I can't remember if I traded up for that.
Yeah, I think you did. I think
Um,
you didn't have any picks going in this draft if I was wrong,
no, I
or if I'm
didn't.
right. And I think you traded.
With Brad, he had so many picks. Yeah.
Yes, he had what did he enter the draft in with 1-3, 1-4, 1-5, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5?
Yeah, he had a boatload of picks, and so with our roster construction, just didn't have enough space, which sometimes is dumb. But we want to keep the
Yeah,
waiver wire fresh. So Mechie, Pickett, Williams went, which that was a little early to see Williams go. Uh, like I said,
yeah.
I could beat him in
Big
a
reach.
race.
Yeah.
Told,
I think that was a Notre Dame homer pick there,
yeah, that was
actually,
a Notre
by
Dame homer
Dustin.
pick. Uh, and then you had good old Tolbert for Dallas. Then you get into the third round. You're looking at Haskins going to Trevor. I mean, like I said, if something happens to Derrick Henry, I think Haskins definitely has like bell cow potential. But I mean, the same thing could be said almost any year behind any of the big backs to have
Yeah,
that handcuff. So um, Ritter goes in a one QB league. I
hate
honestly,
that.
I hate that.
Should have gone undrafted. Every quarterback after Pickett, in my opinion, Pickett's the only quarterback worth drafting.
Oh, for sure. And you can get better people off the waiver wire. And I'm
Yeah,
not even saying that to like be
give
mean.
me Sam Darnold at 3-1 before you give me, or 3-2 before you give me Ritter. Hate it.
Yeah. And then Algier getting I've seen him go like sometimes at the 2-6 in some
Yeah,
different one QB league. So I think that was a good value at 2-3. Then of course Willis, I just the hype is still out of control, even in one QB leagues. Like people think he has the potential to
draft capital, baby. It speaks volumes.
he's a third round NFL quarterback. I mean, even if he was a second round, I'd still not be feeling great about him. But third round is just screams backup.
Intangibles are people. I think people focus on some of those skill sets too much, and some of those intangibles that make sense. For example, my old roommate's dad's a scout, and I've heard him talk about composure before the games and how certain guys in college, when they open up a game, they can't throw over the middle of the field the first drive because they're too amped up, and if they do, they'll just throw it right over the top and get picked off. So I mean, that's the little intangibles. Even if you have a rocket arm and all that stuff, if you don't have composure, you're in big trouble. So while Malik Willis might have the arm, the speed, the strength, some of those intangibles that me and you don't know about, aren't aware about, we don't know how these coaches are scheming up drives. Like, the scouts who are drafting these guys in the NFL do. So draft capital is important to me, and Malik Willis, he was exciting. I mean, I was kind of in that same boat of like love it, and then once he fell that far, I think you have to look in the mirror and have a hard conversation with yourself of I'm not going to reach on this one.
Yeah, I think the hard thing with Malik Willis, we all love, of course, we love the rushing upside, the Konami code quarterbacks. But when you think about it, like just him going to Liberty, I think that really hurt him. And
Absolutely.
the fact that he had to drop to, I know Liberty's a D1 school, but a very low end D1 school to perform and put up the numbers he did, no matter how skilled you are. I mean, even if
Yeah.
somehow Cam Newton went to like Liberty, like I think that would hurt his draft stock back in the day,
Yeah.
you know. So I think him not being able to beat out Bo Nix at Auburn speaks a lot of volumes, and I think that's kind of what showed here in the actual NFL draft, but of course, then it's going to hurt in the rookie drafts. Moving on, TDP falls to the 3-5. I think that's great value. I mean, that was my pick. So I love always getting my hands on a San Francisco running back because Kyle Shanahan is an absolute menace with fantasy football, and you never know who's going to be on a week to week basis.
It's
So,
true. Elijah Mitchell last year was going what, third round ish maybe.
yeah. And
He was
so,
going. He was going back on the draft. You had who did they draft? He's
Trey
from
Sermon.
Yeah, from Ohio State, right?
Yep, he was. Yeah,
He was
drafted him
going what,
yeah.
two in a lot of leagues. I feel like one in the top 3 or 4 anyway. You had Najee Harris, Jamar Chase. Who am I missing? ETN and Sermon, where I feel like
Sir, it depended on the league. I think I saw Sermon go at like the 110, 108. That was typically
wow.
where he was going. But like I said, if so like these things happen, like this draft where James Cook all of a sudden goes at the 1-5, just because of landing spot and draft capital. So I don't know. I just don't trust Shanahan, but that's why you draft these like dart throws in the third round. You guys can kind of see what happened on the rest of the third round. I think the most interesting pick, kind of the picks that we still have to talk about, I do like Shakir a lot for Buffalo. I think the upside's there. We saw what Gabe Davis has kind of developed into, and so I think he was like a 4th or 5th round pick. So,
Sir, I hate to dump on Dustin for the third time tonight on his draft, but I hate the Justin Ross pick. He's pretty slammed on that Kansas City depth chart, and people just are getting too excited about Patrick Mahomes. I think if I got signed by Kansas City Chiefs today, there would be a lot of people who would say, "Oh, Camden's playing with Patrick Mahomes. I better pick him up in Dynasty. He might explode." I mean, I get the hype around it, but again, draft capital. I think there's a reason he went undrafted, and to draft him in the third round when you could have had, like right here, for example, I think Tyquan Thornton would have been a great pick with his draft capital and his opportunity compared to a Justin Ross one.
I would even have taken Velus Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 25. I hate that, but he's like number 2 on Chicago, like wide receiver 2 after Mooney, and I mean Komet. He'll be like 3rd in the pecking order, but injuries happen. So yeah, like I said,
I almost picked Thornton over Ingram in my pick actually.
Did you really?
It. Yeah, I like that. He's a high upside guy, especially with where he's fallen, in my opinion. And I went Ingram just because of his opportunity this year, for example. He's probably going to get the number 2 back role. I'm gambling he will anyway. And if I'm spaced on his name.
If he beats out like James Conner gets injured?
Yes, James Conner. Sorry. If James Conner gets hurt, that man's going to go crazy because I think if you look at James Conner too, he misses a bunch of games historically. I mean, even Hassan Haskins right there. I think Dalvin Cook's missed 20% of the games maybe in his career he's played.
Or
maybe I'm making that up, but I don't know.
Yeah,
get these long-term play, but
I think there's nothing better than like not worrying about getting other people's handcuffs. I think I saw something on Twitter about that.
Love it.
That like a few days ago, like there's no upside in getting your own running back handcuff because of course, like if Derrick Henry goes down and Haskins starts, like I mean, having Haskins on your bench taking up a roster spot, that's not valuable. But all of a sudden, if you don't own Derrick Henry and he goes down and you have Haskins, like you have a locked and loaded, like at least high end RB2, low end RB1 for a few weeks. So. Moving on to the next draft. So no, Camden, you have not seen this. This is from my other super flex league. So of course, quarterbacks are maybe a little bit more valuable here, but there's not going to be a big difference just because the draft capital wasn't there on the NFL draft. But typical Brees Hall goes 1-1, Kenneth Walker goes 1-2. I am on the clock at 1-3. So I should say this. In our first video, I said Drake London was my wide receiver one.
I
And
think
I
you said
was
far and away
far and
too.
away. Okay. And so I was like, cool. Garrett Wilson's my wide receiver two. Traylon Burks is my wide receiver three. So we had just like I had a bunch of drafts happen in that other league we just looked at. Actually, that draft had started, and there's a few people that are in both of these leagues. And so Trevor had the 1-4, but in the other league he had the 1-3, and I saw him take Garrett Wilson as his wide receiver one. So I was like, okay, cool. He really wants Garrett Wilson. I had the 1-3 and the 1-5, and I thought, hey, I'd love to get Garrett Wilson and Drake London. So because I thought maybe he likes Traylon Burks. So I went Traylon Burks over Drake London is what I should have said. So I went Garrett Wilson at the 1-3, thinking I was going to be sly and pick up Drake London at the 1-5, and that did not happen because Drake London went at the 1-4, and then I got stuck taking Traylon Burks. Which, looking back, I think if I were to redo this, I think I would have taken Drake London at the 1-3, and then I would have let Traylon Burks him take Garrett Wilson at the 1-4, and then just take Traylon Burks and have the two
I
upside
like
guys.
Drake London and Traylon Burks more than Garrett Wilson. I like them both. I've seen a lot of stuff on their profiles that I think I just sent you guys something if they fit in certain categories like early declare, first round draft capital, or like an alpha type receiver that they historically have really, really, really strong hit rates in wide receiver seasons, and both those guys fit those two categories.
So I'm gonna give a shout out to Dean Bean Counter. He's on Twitter, and then also Mason with the Dynasty Flock. Both and I think both Drake London and Garrett Wilson, based on their analytical profiles and like their kind of like a lot of metrics, like when they broke out, their college dominator rating, things along that nature. Both Drake London and Garrett Wilson had some of the highest rankings. Like if you compared the players that are around them, like I think all three of these guys, like we're talking, I think all three are going to be studs.
Yep.
I think I'm still. I think it was just a OSU homer pick. I was like, I believe in Garrett Wilson. I've seen him since he was a freshman, seen what he's become, and I think the New York offense is going to take that next step. But then I also think the Drake London not having a quarterback made me doubt my decision a little bit. But I think looking back, I probably should have taken Drake London at the
My
1-3.
earlier predictions for 2023 is that the Falcons are going to get the number one pick and draft
Either Stroud or
Yep.
Love, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Bryce Young, not Bryce Young, yeah.
Yeah. And if they don't, they should tank again for number one pick to try to get Arch Manning eventually. I think that's what the Colts should also do personally. I think as soon as Arch Manning, that year before Arch Manning is eligible to go to the draft, the Colts need to say, see you, Matt Ryan. We're tanking. And sit everyone. I don't care who it is. We're getting Arch Manning. It has to. It's in Indiana. It just feels right for Indianapolis. And, man.
Bold take. We're making a lot of bold takes here tonight.
Arch Manning will go number 1-on-1-1 in super flexes when he declares.
I don't even know what year that's going to be. Is that 2026, 2027?
Man, is he a senior right now?
Yeah.
So
maybe not. He's a junior.
He's what?
Yeah, I think he's a junior in college this year.
His crystal ball is Georgia. I know that, which would be an interesting thing because Georgia doesn't like to throw it as much as some of the other schools.
I think he goes to Texas, dude. I know we're talking Knopf, but I think he wants to make his own legacy. He's not going Ole Miss or Tennessee, that's for sure.
Georgia's not in the mix at all for you, because I think that Georgia or Ole Miss are the two that are leading the way on his crystal ball. I want to say.
I think it's Texas.
How long do you have to be in college? 3 years before you go to draft? Is that right, or is it 2?
Yeah, it's 3 years.
So we're looking at he's got 4 more years, so 2026, 2027.
Yeah.
Start trading your picks now for those 2027.
I don't even think Sleeper just opened up to 2025, so you got to wait more and more year to start hogging those picks.
As soon as they come out, we're jumping on them.
Okay. Anyway, continuing on, kind of standard. Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Christian Watson, Kenny Pickett, 1-9, super flex. Don't think that's bad value. Honestly, I would probably take Kenny Pickett before Christian Watson, just based on like the insulated value he's going to have being a quarterback, even though he's probably ever just going to be a QB2. Like Ryan Tannehill had a lot of value throughout his, when he started at Tennessee the last 3 seasons. So I think that's kind of who Kenny Pickett's going to be, and we'll see kind of from there. Any thoughts on Kenny Pickett? Camden?
Um, you know that according to the experts, he's the most ready quarterback entering the draft, and I think he goes into a great scenario. Personally, some guys go into scenarios where maybe they're not in the best spot to succeed. I don't love Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield plays a bunch of 4 or 5 wide receiver sets all throughout college, and then goes to the Browns and doesn't run a single set like that ever. And I think that sets him up for failure. I mean, I don't know if I love him outside. I didn't want him to go to the Colts, but I don't think he got put in a great situation to succeed either. I think Pickett goes in a situation where he has Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Pickens, Najee Harris, a pretty good offensive line, and a good defense. And I think it sets him up well to succeed. To your point, I don't know if he's going to be out there putting up 500 passing yards a night, but I think he could be pretty solid with what he does have. I could see him. Brian Tannehill is a good comparison, I think, for me, but like you said, but I mean, I could see him having some value at quarterback and sticking around. I guess we'll just have to find out. But I like the spot where Pickett fell.
Yeah. And then you got Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, George Pickens. I was seeing this today. I was really high on the Sky Moore train, especially in this league. I kind of wanted to trade back up into the first to get Sky Moore because I have Patrick Mahomes. But when I really started thinking about it, Sky Moore has to overcome a lot to actually put up fantasy value this year. You got Travis Kelsey, of course. But I mean, just what are the odds that he actually beats out MVS and Juju for a lot of targets? Probably it's not going to be that high, I don't think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think
So
Valdez Scaling. I think he's underrated. I think people are gonna realize he's pretty decent. And then personally, Juju's a polarizing one. I could see him being an absolute bust, or I could see him being really really good. And you might see rookie Juju, and everyone's. I mean, that could be your Cooper Cup next year to some degree. As we'll just have to find out. And then also in there you have Travis Kelsey. So I mean, really, you have 3 guys ahead of him that you would expect to be ahead of him in the air target share depth chart. That's the word I was looking for.
if
Air
you're
target share.
if you're
That's good.
still listening to us right now ramble about these rookies and we're like getting off track talking about other teams, I do think Clyde CEH is being really disrespected right now in fantasy circles. I think he's a bargain right now, to be honest. Like a young, I know we're going to talk age and like maybe it doesn't matter if you're not actually good at football, like whatever, I understand that. But he is tied to the Chiefs, and Ronald Jones got beat out by Leonard Fournette. So I'm not that concerned that that CH can't beat out Ronald Jones for the pass eating work and also uh, just more first and second down carries. But continuing on, second round, Isaiah Spiller, John Mechie, James Cook. So we saw in a one quarterback, James Cook went at the 1-5. This one, James Cook falls to the 2-3. I think that's absolutely great value because, like we said, there's not a
Agreed.
big difference between Superflex and one QB, other than maybe Kenny Pickett going a little bit earlier. And then you see, of course, Desmond Ritter and Malik Willis. I still would not be taking a quarterback in a Superflex league until the end of the second round because I think that point is where you're just taking a shot, hoping that it works out for you.
Yep.
Maybe because, like we said, these third round quarterbacks, the Corral, the Willis, the Ritter, if they don't start producing in their first 2 starts as NFL starters, they're going to have a really short leash to get
Agreed.
pulled off. So, which Ritter might actually play a decent amount this year just because they're trying to lose. So
Yep.
I could see that
Yeah.
being
He's
decent.
uh, he's he's QB2 for me after picking. But then I could see an argument. Super flex, I'd probably take him somewhere in the third, maybe. But in one QB, the only quarterback should be getting drafted is Pickett.
This was also a tight end premium. So like Trey McBride falling to the 2-6, I think is an absolute steal. Then Pierce, Rashad White, Pierce.
So I like
Uh,
Rashard White there a lot, 2-9.
oh yeah,
That's
falling
great
super late.
value.
Yeah, great value. Wandale Robinson, and then this is where things get interesting. So in our other draft, Tyler
Oh,
Thornton,
wow.
Tyler Thornton did not get drafted, and then of course in this league, he does get drafted. I know this is still like we said. You're talking. These are your home dynasty leagues. The people that maybe don't study a lot, but say, hey, Tyler Thornton got what did he get? Second round draft capital.
Yeah. I mean, I think personally, I think you can make an argument for this. I don't know if I would draft him over David Bell, but all these other guys that go after him, I think you can make an argument for him going there.
No, I think the draft capital, he's going to get the chances. And Bill Belichick, he hasn't drafted a high-end wide receiver since N'Keal Harry. So
Yeah,
you
how'd that
do
go though?
oh, it didn't go well. So you think maybe he's going to force feed this guy targets to try to figure out
Lightning fast. I mean,
super fast. And I think the one thing is there was all those rumors about Debo and the Patriots. And whatever, it could have just be OBJ blowing smoke up everybody's. But maybe they want to use Thornton more, like doing, reverses, a lot more handoff screens. Like maybe the Patriots will start to adapt their offense to be more like it's 2020 instead of like 2008, and they still have Tom Brady.
2008.
Jelani Woods went at the 3-1. Tyler Algier at the 3-2. I think when you're getting in a super flex, like we said, super flex, you're getting potentially a starting or backup running back in the third round. Like it's a game changer. David Bell falling to 3-3. I was at the 3-5. I was trying to trade up viciously to get David Bell.
I
I,
would have been doing the same.
I was offering future thirds. I was trying to offer extra pieces, but once our friend Jordan he got on the clock, I knew it was over because that.
Yep, Jordan. Funny in that draft you showed before, Jordan was viciously trying to trade with me to get the 1-7 to get Burks, and we had the same idea, and I just told him like, this is too good to pass up. I'm sorry, Jordan.
I take then of course Tolbert goes, and then Brian. I took Brian Robinson at the 2-5 because don't really like any of the other running backs. Justin Ross, and this is going to be the continuous sayings. People are overhyped with the Kansas City landing spot. I honestly hope he kills it. I really, if he
I would love
emerges,
to see him do well as well. I mean,
yeah.
he's buried on that depth chart. Buried. We
And
just
what
talked about how Sky Moore might be fourth on the depth chart in the receiving game. I mean, Ross isn't even 5. You can make an argument he's not even 6.
Well, and I think the thing that we always don't really take into consideration is that these NFL teams, their scouting departments and their medical teams, millions on millions on millions of dollars are invested into this kind of stuff. And
Yep.
even though we think, oh, this dude's like he's recovered and he can figure it out and his mobility will come back in his back, like these guys clearly the doctor said probably not, and
Yep.
so the NFL teams listened, and we kind of just have to accept that Justin Ross was not the wide receiver one of this class like we thought maybe 2 or 3
Yeah.
years ago.
Fun fact for you: the reason why it's been held in Indianapolis all these years is because 465, the little loop around Indy, where it's incredibly fast to get to all the hospitals around the loop. Whereas if you go to an LA, all these different players who need CT scans, X-rays, all different MRIs, all those sorts of MRIs for heads. What am I? Is I don't
CAT
know.
scan,
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah, Nick. I'm spaced now. I'm not a doctor, obviously. I'm a CPA. If you want to talk to me about the revenue that these teams are pulling in, let me know. And whether they should have leases on their balance sheet or not. That's like, it's on my alley too. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why it's in Indianapolis to touch, just as like a fun fact, I guess. I know they might be moving away for it, but you go to like an LA, it's a lot, 10 times harder to get these guys the medical examinations that they need. So let's keep it in Indy.
Yeah, keep it. I think we got to keep it in Indy. Keep that Indiana love. We need something to look forward to, especially in the spring.
Well, we have all the big tournaments coming up in Indy here. Final Four. The All Star game is this next year. All Star game's coming up too. I think college football playoff is that coming up as well in Indy.
I think it might. So that's going to
So
be
I mean, Indy has a massive year coming.
rounding out the third round. You got, of course, Slow Williams from Notre Dame.
Slow Williams.
Sam Howell. I like
Hate
this
it.
pick. I know you
No.
hate it. Fifth round quarterback, but my thing is this: why take one of these third round quarterbacks in the second when you could just take Sam Howell in the third?
Why take any of them?
Well, would
You can't justify a bad choice with other bad choices.
Well, this is what I'm saying though. Like, let's say, okay, honestly, so in this league, TDP not getting drafted when I drafted him in the other league, I didn't have. I can't believe I took Brian Robinson over TDP, but it's okay. I will pick him up off the waivers, um, but taking Sam, I mean, I would take Sam Howell over Zamir White, Strawn, anyone else that's left. Maybe not Hassan Haskins, honestly, but I don't know.
Sam Howell is. I mean, the fact that Carson Wentz even was upset about that pick at all tells you all you need to know about Carson Wentz because fifth round. If you're worried about a fifth round QB, or was he fifth round?
He was fifth round. Yeah.
What are you doing, bro? If you're worried about a fifth round QB, you got bigger issues, my guy.
See, so but this is the thing with Superflex that I think not a lot of people understand is there is not enough QBs like in Superflex, like good QBs. So even if Sam Howell starts 1 or 2 games this year, he's instantly going to be boosted up next year as you could trade him for like a second.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Listen to this. I traded earlier. I didn't have the pick, but earlier in the offseason when Mariota got signed to the Falcons, I traded Mariota for the 2-1 in this
Yeah,
in this league.
that's good for you. That is some of the dumbest trades I've ever heard of.
But it sounds dumb, but you would not believe what people would do to get a starting quarterback. So if you're listening to this and you're in a super flex league, you know that quarterbacks are king. And so if you have those league mates that didn't do really well in their startup draft, or they haven't been drafting really well in their rookie drafts the past few seasons, get those starting quarterbacks that don't really add any value in your super flex spot, like a Marcus Mariota, Mitch Trubisky. Trying to think of that two. Even maybe I would maybe not throw two in there, but feel free to just auction those bad boys off for the highest bidder. If you can get a second for those guys, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But anyway, this has kind of been our show, talking a little bit about these rookies. As you guys continue to have your rookie drafts, we'd love for you guys to send those our way. Maybe here in the next week or in a few weeks, we might have like a listener, maybe dynasty rookie draft, mock draft again. We might do one of those. Maybe eventually we'll do a startup draft as we kind of get more into the summer. So would love to hear some feedback from you guys. But yeah, Camden, it's been nice chatting with you. Let's
Yep.
continue to grind and get this stuff out.
Yes, sir.
Hey, we appreciate you guys. Talk soon.
One week closer to George Pickens fighting Eli Apple. Peace out.
Peace out.